Welcome to Native Honor Hours. My name is Ed Zendejas.
I'm Cindy Krafka.
You notice how that countdown was a bit slow.
I know.
He was going 3.
I figured it was technical. I figured it was a technical
2,
issue.
Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. And which is a slow countdown.
Kind of threw you off, didn't it?
It did.
You have to work yourself up into a little. You have to get your MC voice ready to go.
1. Anyway, we're back.
We're back. Another week.
Another 30 minutes to kill.
Yeah.
Oh. You know what I want to start off with?
Tell me.
You don't know.
No, I don't know.
You have nothing, do you?
Thank God I can't read your mind.
I have nothing.
I'd worry about myself.
Well, I was going to do this last week, but we got so carried away, and I don't even know what it was. But I had a knucklehead.
Tell me.
My knucklehead was the Plymouth Rock Museum or found whatever people that they have, the pilgrims landed, invaded. They have a statue or something there, and they said vandalized, painted red. And they were all upset, saying, how could they do this to this sacred landmark? Has so much to do with our history, and how could someone possibly want to desecrate this sacred landmark and has so much historical significance to it? I don't understand. And they were just going on and on and on. You know what I was thinking?
What about all of ours that they do whatever they want to, whenever they want to?
What about, let's see, where should we start? Should we start with, the Tohono O'odham's sacred sites that are being blasted for...
Blasted.
And with
And
no
the tribe was not
consultation.
even consulted.
With no
which
consultation. So I
should
was
be
gonna-
against the Constitution. Isn't there something about us in the Commerce Clause that said only Congress shall have power over us? Shouldn't this have gone in front of Congress before anybody did anything?
No, there are other statutes requiring consultation with tribes, but apparently this is such a national emergency that it requires that type of conduct. But anyway, I was thinking.
We have to always protect the Great White Hope.
But I was thinking, you guys, you don't even know.
No.
You have no
No.
clue. So for
But
that,
look at how outraged they are over a little thing like that. They're blasting people's graves, and nobody in America cares.
don't care.
Don't
it's
care.
It's not a big deal.
Maybe we should go over to Gettysburg and start blasting up graves. How would they feel there? Or Arlington National Cemetery. Maybe we need a wall there to keep some people in.
I'm not quite ready to go to prison yet.
I'm 62. I might as well. I could read. I would never have to cook again.
Might as well.
We could probably still do our show.
No. Well, I'm not ready to go to prison yet.
I am.
Well,
I'm ready.
You can. You know what? You can do it.
Go paint.
But I was sitting there thinking,
Did they find out who did it? Like, what are they going to do?
Oh,
Death penalty?
they suspected. They weren't going to say, but they were suspecting that it was, some of those liberal protesters that
The Russians.
Yeah, it
I
must
bet
have
it was the
must have been
Russians.
then. But
Some of those liberal protesters. Whoever it was, thank you very much for desecrating the stone that symbolizes the beginning of our genocide.
I'm not going to encourage anybody to break the law.
Go ahead.
But you will.
But I most certainly will.
You'll have no problem doing that.
None.
I just thought it was knuckleheadish for them to be saying those types of things, but yet on the other hand, when tribes, raised essentially the same issue, even more so with you're talking about cemetery where you
Yep.
bury your dead,
Yep.
and oh no, but we have to protect this statue here, and which you just take a little Windex and stuff, you can wipe that stuff right off. It's no big deal. But how are you gonna
Desecrate.
these sacred sites like this? How are you gonna do that?
Sacred site.
Yes.
Because the Pilgrims that got off the Mayflower were such God-fearing people.
I meant the graves were sacred sites. This is just a statue.
I was watching the other night on the History Channel. I was flipping channels, and they had yet another show about the lost colony of Roanoke. There's a show on about that every third night. Let it go. They died. The white people died somewhere. Maybe the Indians killed them. Maybe they assimilated them into the tribe. Let it go.
Are they knuckleheads? Is that what you're saying?
No, there's too many other people for knuckleheads. They're just in the line of really how interested can people be about people that died, that many. One small group, like 20 people.
We could probably do an entire show of knuckleheads.
Every week it gets worse.
It does.
It gets worse and worse.
It just gets, it's,
I would also like to say during this pre-voting time, and now that we're working up to the vote, please look at every single candidate's Native American policy before you vote. If you've got to be informed on where they stand. I mean, I think we're all pretty clear on Trump's. I don't even think we need to do a lot of investigating in that, but before you vote, look at what these candidates have said and if they've demonstrated any.
well, you touched on the word I was going to talk about. Yeah, it's one thing to hire some native law firm or whoever and say, hey, come up with a nice looking Indian policy for me that throws around the words government to government relationship, recognition of your son. Anybody can do that.
And still have no idea what it means.
And they have. To me, it's about what have you done?
Well,
If you've been in the Senate for 12, 18, 24, 30 years, what have you done?
do you think any of the candidates had meetings with tribal leaders? I mean, that's another thing they could do. Obama did. Obama had meetings with tribal leaders. If every state you went into, you invited the tribal leaders in, that would go a long way. It would get on the moccasin grapevine and pretty soon it'd be all over. But people give lip service without action, is the way I see it.
Yeah.
And we're not even, during the debates or any of that, when I even hear them say the word Native American, I almost feel like applauding because it's just like we don't exist. Plus, now we're getting
That's a pretty
into-
low standard, though.
I know, isn't
All
that
they gotta
horrible?
do is say
our
Native
name, and it makes us at least they're recognizing us. Or now do we have to listen? Did you see what? Of course, it's going to be with Elizabeth Warren and Pocahontas. I mean, we're all going to have to listen to that. But did you see now? He said, "I'll see you on the trail," and capitalized the word trail. So please, people, make up your minds. Be very thoughtful this voting times.
You know, here's my conclusion. Either you're here or you're here. There's very little in between ground, and I'm very uncomfortable with that.
Well, yeah.
Because I don't view myself as over here. I don't view myself as over here.
But sadly, that's what seems to be working.
I know.
I mean, from what I've read in the news, the Bernie bros, his followers, are just as bad as the Trump followers. So where is anybody going to meet in the middle and discuss?
You said that, not me.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I just watched, I watch a lot of, now that I'm semi-retired, I watch a lot of news. And the stuff that's
you do a
being
lot
said,
of tweeting, too.
I'm done. I quit tweeting.
Are you done tweeting?
It's too angry, it's too hate-filled, it's too nasty.
I
And
wondered
then
when you were gonna do that and
you kind of
recognize that you just
slide
can't do
in there
that.
too, because I was finding myself texting a great orange man moron at least twice a day, and I thought, why are you even doing this? And then I was getting attacked, and I thought, everything you read on Twitter is about hate. Back to Facebook, pictures of cats, grandchildren.
No, there's a lot of stuff on Facebook, too. I don't know, I'm just
I had to
getting
quit
tired.
because it's all vitriol. It's harmful. It's hateful.
Having said that, we sort of had a political discussion in my last class. I didn't want it to be a politics sort of discussion, but I wanted to discuss the philosophy
Of
of,
government.
yeah, and sort of the history with tribes and government, because it was I talk about tribal government and policy, so I
Yeah.
tried to incorporate, the historical patterns of how the United States government approached tribes and, sort of what they settled on with us. So I try to keep it in that vein, but even then, you still had some students that just wanted to go at it, and I had to say, nah, that's not what I want to do.
No.
But it's really hard to stay focused on, policy issues and things that you can have a discussion on. It just seems like everybody's ready for a fight.
You better be careful now because I just read in the Omaha World Herald that people are lobbying the charge that UNL and UNO pushes liberal ideas. and I was reading the remarks about it,
That's
and
you.
people are, here's the thing. My political stance has nothing to do with what I'm teaching in Intro to Native Studies. They don't have to know. All my best professors in political science, I had no idea
Yeah, you
which
did.
way they voted.
Yeah, you
No,
did.
Randy Adkins to this day, I have no idea what side of the fence Professor Adkins is.
Well,
Or Carson Holloway.
I'll just
There's
say
just a
this,
lot of them.
I'm still looking for someone to vote for.
A lot of people in
What's
America
that
are.
U2 song?
You know what? I'm not.
I still
I
haven't
swear to
found
God, I would vote for a
Who I'm
squirrel.
voting for? Wasn't that a YouTube song? U2 song. I still haven't found.
YouTube.
YouTube. I still haven't
Haven't found what I'm looking
who
for.
I'm voting for.
I think that's a problem with a lot of people in America. And the thing is, I would vote for a squirrel over what we have now. I'm not kidding. Mr. Ed, I would vote for a talking horse before.
A who?
Mr. Ed. Remember Mr. Ed?
I
I'd
thought
vote
you
for
I
a
thought you were
talking
talking to
horse.
me.
Oh,
calling
that's
me
right.
Mr. Ed.
I never thought about that. Remember that old TV show, Mr. Ed, the talking
Of
horse?
course I do. You're much older than me, but I still remember some of those shows.
If you don't quit saying that, I don't care if I'm scared of Monica. I will slap you.
That's true, Kenny.
The
isn't
only
it?
reason you get away with that is because if it's on tape.
She's much older than me.
I will be 63 next month.
Well, shall we?
Hey,
shall we
speaking
do-
of next month, you want to tell them what's going on with the students at UNO and Tribal Management and Emergency Services?
Yeah, you and one of our professors, Joki Marumba, are taking some. I mentioned this last week.
Did you?
Yeah, you guys are going to St. Thomas.
To work
Without
on
me.
hurricane.
Without me.
You could be going, but you
I
won't
don't
get
wanna
on a
go.
plane.
I don't want to go.
I think it's
That's
going to
too
be an
long a plane ride
amazing
for me.
experience. I think it's going to be, it's,
Plus that I would miss my recliner and remote too much.
you are an old man.
Yes, I
You-
am.
I'm
But not
worried-
as old as you.
Hey, what if the coronavirus is there? We may not be going.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
But you guys are going. They're going down there to do some field work, and you know what? What I want to do?
What?
I want to have another conference.
Right on. Let's do it. I'll help your administrative assistant plan it.
I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but there was some money that sort of got loosened up there. They went through the couches over here and found a little money, and I want to put together one of our emergency management conferences again.
Never.
We need to have those because it's been a couple of years since we had a full blown, and if we don't do it, then we're going to lose our whatever amount of
Do you know what I like about your
credibility we had.
conferences?
Food.
They are for natives, and it's actually 95% Native American attendance.
No, everybody's invited. This is a public institution. You can come. We invite tribal leaders
Yes,
to come in
from all
and-
over the country.
Well, it's mostly the Midwest because
Where was that one guy from? He
Well,
was from clear down past Texas.
no, and we had some from Montana,
Mm-hmm.
and but mostly it's South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, and that's sort of our target area because
Yeah.
we share a lot of the same concerns about what emergencies tribes face. So.
And the tribes share a lot more in common that they don't realize until they sit down and start asking some of these questions. I heard last year it got a little testy in there with was it ITEMA or FEMA?
No, it's FEMA.
FEMA.
No, that was sort of a last minute put together little.
It was the
conference.
best thing of the whole conference, everybody said.
Well, it was mostly me questioning the FEMA people. Why are they making the tribes do this, but not the states?
Yes.
That was my big problem.
I heard it
had.
got feisty in there. I was out, of course, directing where the food went.
It wasn't feisty. It was just lively.
Intense. It was intense.
It was a lively discussion.
Did you put your lawyer face on?
Kind of did.
Yep. When Ed puts on his lawyer face, even I will be quiet.
It was kind of that way because I was upset because there's different standards for the states and they applied it differently. So I just wanted to get an answer from them why they're treating tribes differently.
To be honest with
and-
you, I'm surprised FEMA allowed questions.
Well, you know what? They didn't want to come.
Aha.
The one that was supposed to be in charge of our region, he sent somebody else that came from, I think, Washington State or something like that. And he didn't want to come. He was calling me, I don't know if I have time for this. I was like, what'd you say here? They're going to have, leaders from 3 of the 4 tribes here. You need to be here. Well, I might be busy. So he ultimately did show up, and we were kind, but we just wanted to make sure. But what I want to do is I want to have another conference where we can spotlight what happened that was good. The Poncas were able to do their own major disaster declaration request form that was successful, and we want to learn from that. So there's a lot of things that we can learn from what happened, a lot of things we can learn from what we did wrong.
Well, and a lot of things we can learn from how the other tribes have reacted to their emergency situations.
Yes, but ultimately, whether we do something right or we do something wrong, we can learn from it, and I think that's the value of having that type of conference. So that's kind of what I want to do. We'll see if
Well,
if
you
we
were
can
the
shake
big
loose the
dog,
money
so
to do
you
it.
were shaking hands and kissing babies and talking about important things. And meanwhile, I was listening to the people talk about the conference. I got so much out of this conference. It helps me understand my job better. I see where our tribe needs to have some work. Those are the things. Anything we can teach the tribes in relation to dealing with the federal government is a step up for them.
Well,
Most of the
I'd
tribal
like
managers,
I'd like to have another one of those.
I'm in.
Okay. Are you going to help?
Yeah,
He's
I
not
may
gonna-
even speak.
He can be in charge of the food.
I may even, you have a crack assistant for that now.
Maybe you should present.
I'll present.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will. I'm working on a proposal right now called Recruiting the Res.
Oh, you know what you could do? You can, I think if we have it, it'll be after you guys get back, and maybe you can have the students sort of present
Yes.
on
I also
what
would
they
like to
did.
present on your program and getting other colleges involved in how they could enroll.
Not
I'm
yet.
telling you what, not yet. You're not ready to go.
No. Man, but there's some basic things we need to do first. That will come, but we need
You need to finish your book.
Yeah, we do. I don't want to talk about that.
Meanwhile, I'm enjoying semi-retirement. I go to Penzies once a week, sell some spices, chat with people, play with my
Do
grandson.
you come home and smell like spices after you're done?
Yes. And the first week I smelled everything, then my smeller broke. It all smells like a field. It all smells like a cow field to me now. That's
You get
all I
rid of
can
that
smell.
cigarette smoke all over the place?
My grandson's over there growling at you just to tell you how he feels about it. If grandma didn't smoke, somebody would be dead.
I'm just saying.
Sometimes having a
Oh,
cigarette
you know
saves
what else?
somebody's
How much
life.
time we have, Kenny? Because this is a pretty heavy topic.
Uh-oh. Ed wants to get heavy.
10 minutes?
Yeah, 9 minutes.
I can get into it.
You can get heavy.
I wanted to talk about the Mcgirt case.
Talk about the Mcgirt case.
The Mcgirt. You remember what the Mcgirt case was?
No.
He has
I really
no clue
wish I
about what the
did. Right
Mcgirt
now, I
case.
wish I did. I really, really did. Hey,
This-
I've been
this is-
watching
this
the
is
Disney
this is-
Channel all
this
day.
is
My brain
Oklahoma
is
case.
mush. Okay.
You
Now
know,
I know
the
where we're going.
jurisdiction, the reservation case. I think I sort of laid the foundation. It's scheduled for oral arguments with the Supreme Court this term, and hopefully they'll decide it this term. But it has to deal with the issue of jurisdiction and whether or not Congress diminished reservations in Oklahoma. And the 10th Circuit already held that they did not. They did not officially diminish. Therefore, essentially, all the crimes that all the crimes that happened in about 2/3 of Oklahoma should fall under federal jurisdiction. And most of them, or a lot of them, were charged in state courts, so that would essentially sort of put a wrench into a lot of those prosecutions. That's one of the reasons why I think the Supreme Court passed on making a decision last term. But they brought in this new case, Mcgirt versus Oklahoma. Same issue. Mcgirt was convicted of a crime in state court, and he's alleging and was successful in 10th Circuit in convincing them that the reservation had not been diminished, according to Supreme Court precedent and the treaties. And essentially, his conviction is vacated until the Supreme Court makes a decision on this case. What I found was interesting and sort of, I don't want to say enlightening, but I was encouraged. You know who Tom Cole is?
No,
You should know this. You're a political science
I
junkie.
really have no idea.
He's
I can't know everything.
You can know this.
Well, then educate me, Ed.
He's a native guy. I think he's I can't remember, Cherokee or Chickasaw, from Oklahoma, in Congress. You know, there's two. There's Tom Cole and his name's Mark Wayne Mullins.
How come we haven't heard more from them?
Well, because they're Republicans and you hate Republicans. But Tom Cole has been in Congress for a while, and you know, when push comes to shove, you know, he's a Republican and he'll go with Republicans. But in this instance, what I saw was he submitted him and former governor of Oklahoma and some other attorney general, former attorney general of Oklahoma filed what's called a friend of the court brief in support of Mcgirt,
Right on.
saying that Congress did not diminish those reservations, and therefore, you know, the 10th Circuit should be affirmed. And they did so with a little bit different twist, which I found very encouraging. They said the whole point of their brief was, we've been handling these issues forever, you know, in terms of working government to government, jurisdictional, finding ways to govern with the tribal nations and the state through compacts and various other types of agreements. He said, and the bottom line of the brief was, we can do the same with this.
Right
We
on.
can respect the tribe's sovereignty and come together for some joint agreements about jurisdiction and work out our differences that way, rather than, you know, the Supreme Court saying, you know, all that stuff doesn't matter, we're going to diminish, you know, tribal boundaries, reservations, and basically we're, you know,
We're out of
step
the
on their
Indian
sovereignty.
business, as was said on more than one occasion about natives.
So I was very encouraged and applaud Tom Cole for, he would be my Indian of the week.
I have an Indian of the week.
Well, let me finish with Tom Cole, then you can
Alrighty.
do that. Because a lot of times, you know, we say things, you know, politically we don't agree with a lot of things. But in this instance, I think it carries a lot of weight with certain members of, you know, the court that are of that political persuasion, that to point out that the tribes and the states do not need, you know, this type of Supreme Court intrusion into the government-to-government relationship, that they can work together to figure this out.
As they have.
And as they point out in the brief, as they've done throughout, you know, their history. And I think that was an encouraging sign for me, that you don't always need to have the court step in and do this if the parties are willing to recognize each other's existence as governments and work together. So I was encouraged by that. So Tom Cole,
It's nice to see
get my
politicians
Indian of
doing the
week.
right thing. I agree, Tom Cole. And while we're talking about down there, the Cherokees are my Indians of the week. You know what they said to the governor?
What'd they say?
They said, being an Indian does not have to do with how much blood you have in your body. It has to do with whether you have been raised with Indian tradition, mores, and spiritual beliefs, and you were not. Thus,
They didn't disenroll him, did
I don't
they?
know that they can. Can they?
They can do whatever they want to do.
Then that might be coming. I just saw that little snippet, read it, and went right on. The Cherokees are slapping the governor around a little bit. A lot of the tribes are coming to their assist.
See, and this is another example. I would hope the governor of Oklahoma, is he your knucklehead of the week? He was knucklehead last
Yes.
week.
Yes.
Is he the running knucklehead of the week
I
until
pretty much
someone?
have, we have to, because there's,
Okay.
if we're going knucklehead of the week, we could do just entire shows.
That's what I
on
said.
knuckleheads of the
But in this instance, I think he could learn from, you know, what Tom Cole and the other former governors have said in his friend of the brief court. Friend of the court brief.
He doesn't seem to
And-
me like the type of leader that listens to any other way than his way.
I would-
I've watched some of his remarks, and I just thought, I would never want to argue with you because you already think you're right.
I would agree with you. I'm just saying is that if Tom Cole and because you know these other former governors are Republicans in Oklahoma, I don't know if
Well,
they
and
have
you
any
know,
Democrats
to be
down
honest
there.
with you, it's a smart voting strategy because Oklahoma has a lot of natives that vote. So, and it's irrational to think that all natives are
Democrats.
Democrats.
Yeah.
That was my mom always said, if you're brown and a Republican, there's something wrong with you. But I understand times have changed and people have changed. You have to still sell to your base and to those moderates. And with all those natives voting, who are you going to vote for? Someone who has never done anything for you, or someone who's stood up and written a friend of the court brief?
So is Governor Stitt?
Hopefully he'll be gone.
No, he just
Yes.
got elected.
Well, hopefully he will be a
He
one-term
just got elected.
blowhard.
I don't know. You never can tell who's going to challenge him within his party. You see, that's the thing. No one's going to challenge him within his party because he's a sitting governor. So it's going to take.
It's harder to get the incumbents out, but it
Yeah, I
can
know.
be done.
But they also ran an article. There's I think 12 natives that are running for office this
Yes.
time around.
Is it, again, a high population number of them women?
Yeah, although there are a number of men. There was let's see, at least 5 of them I think were men.
Right on, good.
How many of them
think our
have
young men
realistic
need
chances
good-
of winning? I
I
don't
think our young
know.
men need good role models. I think our young men and our young women need good role models, and it seems to me that a lot of the grandmothers and the women of our culture are
Kenny
stepping
says
up.
it's time for us to go.
Well, thank you for listening in this week.
Yeah, well, are we
Be
coming
back
back
next-
next week?
Yeah,
Are we?
why would we not?
I thought maybe we'd
Hey,
go on
happy Fat
hiatus.
Tuesday, everybody.
Happy who?
Fat Tuesday. Oh, and somebody wants to say hello to his viewing.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, having said that, it's time to say bye, huh,
Can
Lucky?
we say bye-bye?
We'll see you
Say
guys next
bye-bye?
week.
See you next week.